Hi, welcome to a Roboflow training movie. In this training movie, I will explain how you can access a binary field in Roboflow. Out of the box, Roboflow will return the value of a binary field as a base 64 encoded string, because a binary can contain all kinds of characters, bytes that are not potentially cannot be represented in a plain text string. Now, if you really want to get to that value, you really need to know what the byte stream is actually containing. And one of the fields that is in your Cumulus catalog is the user common thread, which contains a field called coordinates. And coordinates is a binary field that stores the coordinates of your comments as a JPACK. And JPACK is a class which encapsulates a kind of XML file, which is the same format used for your preferences. If you go to your Cumulus server, you will find your preferences in two versions there, a .xml and a .pack file. Well, this is exactly the same in the catalog. For the binary field of the coordinates, it contains that same format. Now, as I said, out of the box in Roboflow, you cannot access this. So you can work with it up to a certain point that you can get the result of that field, and it will return you a base encoded, base 64 encoded plain text. But I have an extension on Roboflow which allows you to work with these packs. So there are some extra actions available. Create pack from stored base 64 text, or you can also use the same thing to do a basic to import an XML file from preferences and as a JPACK and access it. Now, if we run this, and I'm going to remove this, if we run the workflow and we take a look at this pack, we can also, with that same extra functionality, we can store the pack as an XML file, which shows us then exactly how that looks. But from the additional plugin, you can access this pack. There are two types of packs. There are record packs and list packs. And so with actions, you can either process items of a list pack and process the record elements or values of a record pack. So that's how you can work with both of these items. And you can see you can use several functionalities to work with packs. Now, let me run the workflow so you understand what I am doing here. So we will show the log in a moment when we run the workflow. And I'm sorry, this was just still debug enabled. And so if we do a show log, it reads the entry, and there are multiple entries. As we could see, we have multiple comments. So this is a table field with 4 entries. So it is picking up the values for these 4 entries. So the first one is a square. So for the square, it just has 4 points. X, Y, and I can just because this is just an NS record, I can just get to this NS record and it can automatically give me those values. Here you see I'm picking up the values from that NS record, so you see what the coordinates are, and so it gives you exact coordinates. Then the next example was a polygon. So then you have an X, Y, Z. If I then do the same instruction, just picking up from the record, it won't find it. In this case, I would first have to do a process list, and that would give me for each of those an individual record, and then I can pick up from that record that specific value. The third example is let me see, the third example here, that the third example was a sticky note which just has two coordinates, an X and a Y. So you can see that if we have a look in the workflow, that for this we have a Y coordinate and an X, and it can nicely pick them up like this. The last example was just a comment without coordinates, so then you see of course that you don't have any coordinates, in which case you can of course also not pick anything up. So, but that's how easy it is to work with these coordinates. You can pick them up just by say store pack as XML. That was just to output as XML. You don't need that. So these two, if you're really using, you can remove it. But then you can pick up the value. And if this value returns null, then there are two options. Either you have, it's a list, and you want a list record. So you want to process the list because it's a polygon. You could also say, okay, if it's null, I'm ignoring it. I'm only processing rectangles. And then that's how you can determine how you should pick up these values. And that's what the workflow does. It picks them up, stores them in a variable, and here you can output them or do whatever you need to do with them. So I hope this makes this functionality a little bit clearer. How do I install this? You will receive from me a roboflow.jar, and you will receive a roboflow extension.jar, and you will receive from me a license. So what you need to do is, first of all, edit your roboflow.xml, and you need to add this particular plugin to it. And then secondly, you need to copy the roboflow.xml jar into your roboflow folder. I'll use a special installation so it looks a little bit different, but here is my roboflow folder. So I have here in my roboflow.xml roboflow.ext.jar. This is the jar file that you have. And because you need to add this jar file, you need to go to the conf folder in wrapper conf, and you need to tell, of course, roboflow to use this wrapper. Again, don't look at all the rest, but all you need to add is this part up to here. All the rest is just other examples of other plugins like Dropbox, JSON, XML. These are all kinds of other plugins that exist for roboflow to do special extra stuff like with Cloudinary or etc, etc. But the most important, the only thing is important for this guy is just do this. And then finally, as I said, you will be asked to add here in the parameters a parameter. At this point there is a test value in it which you can use. So just use that, add say new, type in this name with this, and it will work. For now, you can use it as a test. Don't forget, after setting all this up and making these changes to roboflow, to restart your roboflow installation. So thank you for joining this training movie, and hope to see you in the next one.